We have one of the most famous bolt-action rifles of all time, the 1903 Springfield. And this rifle is in desperate need of a new finish. So we're going to take this, we're going to put a brand new finish on it, strip it down, and go over all the finishing. I'm going to show you every single step of the way on how I do this work. So without wasting any time, let's get at it. Hello, Paul with RGS Restorations. Today we're working on this 1903 Springfield rifle. Now this rifle is in very good condition mechanically. The wood's pretty good on it. The markings are all still good. It's just been very neglected and the cosmetics are pretty bad. You'll see at the pictures when we get into restoring each of the components, the shape that they're in currently and what we're going to do to it. So I'm going to take you through the complete step. We're going to strip this down. We're going to do all the metal prep, the finishing, and then assembly. And so you're going to get a complete step-by-step walkthrough, start to finish, on how I carry out this work. All right, so first things first. And as I strip this down, I'm just going to set the parts all off to the side. And these things usually can get quite messy. Okay, well, that's just going to be fussy for right now, so we're going to bypass that momentarily. And I didn't bring out a large enough punch. Really? That one is stuck in there. Now, I don't want to just keep pounding it straight out. I want to walk it out of there. You can run into a situation where you can chip out the wood around the trigger plate. So anyway, that is why I did that. So I'm going to set that off to the side. And I'm going to strip these down even further to be able to properly polish and do all of that. So there's a screw here that retains that pin that you'll need to remove. And then when you take that out, be careful. There's also a plunger and a spring in there. And you'll want to remove those. Now, when it comes to proper metal finishing, one of the shortcuts some people will take is they will not strip each and every single component apart. And I found over the years that that is just a cheater's way to do it. The only way to really do and have the absolute best of work is to take apart every single little part, every little single screw, every little pin, and then polish everything appropriately. And same thing with metal finishing. I always pull the barrels. I do not like leaving barrels on. There's just too much stuff that can seep in between the joints and then spoil your finish or give you problems after the fact. Okay, so that is our action that's stripped apart. What is this code on here? 5 of 19. SA 519. And like I said, the bore is pretty good on this one. And that plate goes from the front to the back when you depress the spring. Like I said, we're going to go and we're going to pull this apart. All right, there you go. We have it pretty much stripped apart. The only thing I have to do is mess around with the sight a little bit yet. I'll strip that down some more and I will pull the barrel off of here. All right, so now we're going to pull our barrel off. And as I explained in our prior sequence there, I always like to have the barrels separated from the receivers. It makes any metal finishing that I do and the prep for metal finishing by far easier. I just don't like them attached because chemicals can seep into those joints. It can either spoil your finish, or in the case of hot bluing, a lot of times what'll happen is you'll get blossoming and blooming. After it's blued, the customer will get it and they'll get that white stuff coming out of joints, which I'm sure everybody has seen at some point in the past with blued firearms. So I just avoid all that by always taking them off. And I understand not everybody has a barrel vise and the ability to do that. So, I mean, if you don't, obviously it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you do, I always highly recommend taking that barrel off of the receiver. So what I do is I have a bunch of aluminum blocks and I make up all of my own blocks out of solid bar stock, and I will bore them out and I will taper them, and I have a whole bunch with different barrel profiles for different firearms. So it's just a matter of finding the one I want that fits the best, and then just tighten that down into my barrel vise here. I can't stress enough how important it is to have a barrel vise that is very solid. This thing is bolted to the floor. I got all kinds of things welded up on it to make it solid. Springfields are not known to be super tight, as in some rifles, 1917s, for example, are known to be terrible. Japanese, pretty bad, but anyway, you can see the size of the handle I welded onto my handle, and again, it's just to be able to get the leverage that you need on some of these things. Now, if this were like when I'm putting it all back together, or if I have to pull something where it's not getting metal finish, say I have to pull a barrel for doing a threading job or something like that, of course this would all be, the steel would all be protected. But because we're doing a refinish, I'm not worried about any little bit of marking that might go on it. And any marks that do get on it, it's not like it's damaging. But if you had a freshly finished firearm, you definitely would want to protect your steel. Usually like a good quality tape. Sometimes you can use pieces of cardboard, heavy paper, whatever works for the individual. But anyway, just to go over, I kind of make sure everything is super tight, and I want to get a good first pull and crack on it to get it. So one thing I do want to do that I didn't do is I'm going to put a witness mark on the bottom. So I'll be right back. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to just put a witness mark on the bottom of the barrel. And the receiver. So that all goes back together exactly where I want it. A lot of times these do have witness marks on them, but I just don't see that on this one here. I don't go crazy with witness marks, but you want them deep enough so that if you do any metal prep, you're not going to lose them and then not know where they are. So anyway, it's time to take this off of here. And that came off actually very, very easy. Which is good. Very easy, actually. Everything will be cleaned up and good, and then when we put it together, we won't have to worry about, like I was mentioning, any solvents and anything spoiling the finish. And usually what will happen is in heat, it's unless one way, a quick thing, one way you can get, if you can't take the barrel off, I highly, highly, highly recommend to either bake, use a torch, not at an obscene heat, but get the part to say 300 or 400 degrees, so any oils that might be trapped in here will seep and weep out. What will happen is when you get that hot in metal finishing, if you only use room temperature solvents to clean it or scrub it, by the time you start putting a metal finish on there, and you know your temperature, if your bluing is around 300 degrees, those oils will start to wick out at that temperature, and it'll spoil your finish. So if you can't take your barrel off and get all those surfaces completely clean, that is one way to eliminate having an oil problem later, is to use heat and get it. And you'll see what I mean. If there's oil in there and you take like just a propane torch and you go around that and you get it hot, you'll see that it'll wet around, around the joint. So once you do that and you burn all that out of there, essentially you can be sure that at least your metal finish won't get ruined. You're probably still going to get some chemical trapped in there, and you could potentially get that blooming and all that I was talking about, but at least it won't spoil your finish. So hopefully maybe that's a helpful little tip that I have learned along the way, the hard way, by not taking these apart, which is why I always take them apart. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of our project. So we have everything bead blasted, and now we're not going to just bead blast this and then go straight to metal finishing, because there's still a lot, as you can see in the pictures, there's still a lot of pitting that's underneath the bead blasting, and what we're doing here is full-on restoration. So we have to make sure that we get all the metal that's pretty good. Now the butt plate was pretty bad, the nose cap, some of the bigger parts were pretty good, but we're going to go and we're going to make sure all the pitting and everything is like really crisp and sharp with this and out, and then we're going to go back into the blasting cabinet and we're going to re-bead blast it. The bead blasting is not really, it's not really restoring the metal, or it's only just like a surface conditioning process to give it that appropriate look prior to the parkerizing. You want that matted bead blast look on there, and that's really all it's doing. But as far as getting rid of the pits and all that stuff, that still is everything that has to be done by hand, and we're going to go through that right now, and I'll show you how that's done. All right, so as always, I'm going to start out with a fairly aggressive belt here. This is going to be a 60 grit, and that's pretty common because, like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of pits on that metal. So when we go to the bead blasting or sand blasting process, I'm not going to go straight to the parkerizing, as that wouldn't give us the job that we're looking for. We want to create as perfect like it left the factory finish. We have to remove all of that pitting before we go back in there and do the bead blasting. We don't want any of the pits. So I don't have to go up to a really high grit belt. Probably just, I'll stop at, probably like around a 220 grit. But anyway, starting with that real heavy belt, we're just going to take all those pits out. So now that we worked through our 60 grit and our 120 grit, we're just going to finish off with our 220, 240, and I'll just use a little use some of the buffing wheels as a touch up to get into some corners and pockets that the big belt sander can't get into. And that's going to be it. That'll get our steel prepped with no pitting. It's going to be perfectly smooth to that grit, and then we'll go back into the bead blaster and we'll put the final finish on that for the actual metal finishing process. And we'll take a look and see what all of that steel looks like as it's polished right before it goes back into the bead blaster, and then what it looks like out of the bead blaster right before metal finish. All right, so we took you through the entire process right up to the point before we're going to do the Parkerizing. So we stripped the gun down, we cleaned everything in an ultrasonic tank. I showed you bead blasting a little bit, not a whole lot there. It's kind of hard to get the camera in the bead blasting cabinet or even close to the glass where you can see through it. But so we showed you through the polishing with using some buffing wheels and mostly our big belt sander, removing that pitting and getting that all prepped. Now, like I had said and made mention to, it's very easy to just strip them down, bead blast them, reparkerize them. And you know, the parkerizing and the bead blasting will hide an awful lot of imperfections, but if you really want a quality finish that's going to mimic what the factory did, you have to remove that pitting. The bead blasting, you don't want to use that as a surface preparation tool in and of itself. It's almost like a surface conditioning. Like just right before I use, you know, maybe my final belt or my final abrasive before I would go to blue, I use the bead blasting the same way. That's my final surface finish right before I go and I do the parkerizing. So I'm not using that at all to prep the metal. That's still all done with traditional polishing techniques to get that steel nice and crisp, and everything stays, you know, exactly as I want it, and it doesn't, the edges don't get distorted and the lettering doesn't get distorted. Everything stays nice and crisp. So that's why we use that polishing technique, and then, you know, everything for the surface conditioning is done at the end. So I just wanted to take a quick moment and thank everybody for liking and subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate every one of the comments and likes and subscribes that we get. Anyway, that's it. In our next video, I'm going to take you from where we left off in this video with the metal. We're going to get it all prepped, clean it. We're going to do the phosphating. I'm going to show you that. And we're going to get into the reassembly and show the final results, or the reveal, if you will, on it. So I will have links when the second video for it becomes available. I will have a link in the description for that, so you can click on it, and the end screen will also direct you there as well. So stay tuned for number 2. That should probably be coming out within a week after this one, a week or two after this one. So anyway, thanks again so much for watching, and until we see you at the range again next time, take care and happy shooting.